VeVe announces they are hiring for some key positions, and OMI's token continues to feel like it's in a free fall. Does this mean, as some say, that OMI is dead? Well, we'll get into the latest VeVe news, and we will definitely talk about OMI and the disastrously low price it's presently at. And for sure, I'll share my take on that. If you haven't already, make it rain on that like button. Strap in for the show because we have the real Randy Chavez joining us, and Doctor of Stuff will not make it today because he has real life stuff going on and won't be able to share his perspectives. Randy, what's going on?
A lot, brother, a lot. I was being a good boy and I was getting into bed around midnight last night, and then something happened. The new Pokemon game came out, and I was like, oh, so I stayed up till 7 in the morning playing that, and I was like, fell asleep with the phone. I was like, oh, and then I woke up at like 11, go, la, 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 la. And then I was like, oh, so I still kept playing. All I had in the last, I don't know, 30, 40 hours was 4 hours sleep and a long hot shower. But I am here. I am ready to talk about what that means for digital collecting in general, because there's only so much that you can do on that. And the demand for that is so crazy high. You have people that you're allowed to open like 2 packs per day for free. And then everyone's just like, well, what if we didn't? How much could we spend in order to get more packs? And there are people out there that have completed the entire, there's 286 cards. And obviously you get like the common, uncommon, rare, all that jazz, same as VeVe. And there's people that have completed all of that, probably spending several $100s to do that. I was able to just put in $100 and complete most of it. But yeah, to get all of them is heckin' nuts. The battling is awesome. And I think this is just another reason why people are going to get into digital collecting, because you have that. They're not cards. They're not physical cards. They're not phygital. They don't have that physical element. It's just taking what you own and battling and trading with people across the world. And what better way to get people into VeVe and that than Pokemon? I think it's a really good time.
Question: does the new Pokemon game have a marketplace that you can sell your stuff?
No, it's going to have a trading platform, because part of Pokemon and part of the way that you used to be able to only evolve things is by trading, upgrading them. But now with this one, you're going to have trades, and there's likely going to be some, hey, I don't have any good cards for you to trade for, but how about $40 for you to trade me your good card for my crap card, and I'll give you that. And that's likely what's going to happen. We've seen that happen with Disney Pinnacle. We've seen that happen way back in the day with VeVe. And yeah, so that's likely what'll be how it'll happen.
Yeah, collecting is definitely going digital because then you don't have to store them. And as many collectors know, you run out of extra bedroom space, and then you buy a bigger house, and then you run out of space there. And I would love to see where David Yu stores his collection. Right, it's probably its own warehouse because
He's got 3.
yeah, it takes up so much space. You just can't house it all. But digital, and especially when if VeVe, the Veveverse really expands the ability to show off your stuff, which of course it will do that. That will be huge. So looking forward to that. Let's talk about other VeVe news. What did you think about the recent announcement about VeVe hiring?
All right, so that one, the announcement was mostly about, or all about, affiliate marketing and just marketing growth. There was another job up there if you go to it, and that was just about like a graphics designer. I actually have it here. I can go take a look. I hate how it's Bamboo HR. But yeah, there's a lead engineer, which had nothing to do with any type of marketing. That was just there before the announcement. But then the announcement was a affiliates lead, communications lead, head of communications community, head of growth marketing, and a senior graphic designer, which doesn't sound like marketing, but they're using those graphics and those designs for their marketing tools and that marketing campaign. I'm not 100% sure the timeline on these. It does seem like it seems like they haven't had this type of marketing. They have not had this type of marketing before, where they're talking about affiliate marketing. Hey, you get a code, and anyone that uses that code, they're able to go in and possibly give you a percentage of sales. It would be a big waste if they did affiliate marketing with no incentive for people to go out there and market for them. So one of the ways that you're going to probably do that is some type of code. Mine might say like Chavez 5, whatever it is, or Chavez the 1. Doesn't matter what it is. I give a code. People go and use that code to buy gems. If they use those gems to spend in the store, then maybe I would get like 1-2%, something like that. But what about you? What did you gather from it?
I just saw a little bit of the announcement, them talking about them hiring and bringing in some key positions. And then I read a few of the comments that was like, and tell VeVe this and tell OMI this. And it's like, oh gosh. Okay.
I didn't go over those comments. They're probably great.
Yeah, like they just get like boring, right? So a lot of people, they're new to business investing, right? They've never done early stage business investing before, and they come into the crypto space. And it's cool that they're here, but they don't understand multiple priorities. Like one of them was like, wait, I thought they froze hiring, and wow, there's all of a sudden hiring, and why they shouldn't be doing that until ... And it's like, okay.
Almost like they got a new CEO.
We all have room to have our own opinions, which is cool. But it's kind of like a lot of backseat driving. And at the end of the day, what I ask myself is, do I believe in the current team that is running things? David Yu, I've always been very, very impressed with. Dan is super cool and chill. I really can't say I know tons about him. Got to know him just a little bit better at the VeVe parties, which was awesome. He doesn't appear on AMAs a lot, and I can't remember a ton from the first AMA I saw him on back in 2018. So I don't know tons about him, but this new co-CEO, he's done some different interviews, came on your channel, and I really like him. And I think he's really sharp. So at the end of the day, I'm glad those people are making the decisions rather than everybody who has, their opinions on it. Do I try to micromanage what the people, like the companies that I'm investing in, are doing? No, but if I lose faith in like they just seem to be making bad decision after bad decision after bad decision, then I'll diversify my investment. Now, a lot of people have lost faith in OMI because they see the token price continue to go down. And that's kind of like, they're like, get in there and they're like, oh, if you did this and this and this, it would change it. And most of the things that they say wouldn't really change it. A lot of the reason the price has gone down so much is because the price went so high last bull market. And the pendulum swings too far each way. And it went like 3,000x last bull market. And there's a few reasons why it came together to go so high. So realize the pendulum's got to correct. And obviously, when the pendulum corrects it, that means it's overcorrecting. And so it's been severely punished. And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, if they just had this and this and this, then everything would be better. It might be a little bit better. Like prices might be 2 or 3x higher than here. And a lot of people are like, yeah, that would feel so much better. But I'm a longer term investor. So I would rather when it swings low to swing really, really low, because I like to buy really, really low. And even if that means I'm buying below what I had been buying a bunch before, then I just dollar cost average more, because my sell period isn't till the bull market is going absolutely crazy. So I would prefer that it overcorrects, that it goes down a ton and then goes up. And a lot of people don't yet see the value in this, because really they're concerned.
Right.
Technical difficulties with some internet there. It's been doing that all day. Their bigger concern is that it won't ever correct upwards. And that's just, they don't understand these cycles. Like as a business, VeVe's really strong. The OMI token is tied to VeVe. And, they're just concerned. They don't know how this swings. So they're just scared. And it's okay. They're new to this. Of course, they're scared. They don't understand the probabilities that it goes back the other way and it swings too high the other way are really, really high. And that's what I'm banking on. This isn't my first, cycle in crypto. It's definitely not my first cycle in investing overall. Even in other things like stocks and real estate, these cycles happen just like this. In real estate, it corrects, it goes too far to the upside. Then it corrects too far to the downside. And then it corrects too far to the upside again. And so crypto is doing the same thing. OMI token is doing the same thing. This low price is a gift horse. And a lot of people are going to look that gift horse in the mouth and be like, oh my gosh, these teeth haven't been brushed in so long. And oh my gosh, this and this and this. and and they're not going to take advantage of it, and that's okay. The question is, will they learn when it goes the other way? That's like, oh my gosh, there are some things I could learn here. So they make better decisions, because realize if we have a major bull run coming this year, or this coming year, right, in 2025, and it goes absolutely crazy, well, then what's going to happen again? If it goes absolutely nuts, like I think it will, then what goes up will eventually come down, and you'll have perhaps one more bite at the apple to hopefully make life-changing wealth if you're here for the investment side of crypto. Now, some of the VeVe fam are just here for the collectibles. Cool. The collectibles are cool.
They are pretty cool. I like the contests that they put out, and most of the contests that I have random ones. I have like Luke Skywalker protecting my crumble cookies. I have I don't know, Spider-Man hanging above my head. Like they're simple, but some of these people and most people's pictures are simple. Claritza has some really good ones. I don't know if you've seen hers, where she dresses up every day for October. She's dressed up like one of the VeVe collectibles. Like she has Aladdin and she dresses up as Jasmine. She has Chucky and she dresses up like Bride of Chucky. And there's one where it was the Aru from Gary Baseman, and she dressed up like the makeup looks like she has fangs. It looked like she has like Pennywise, like almost with the teeth coming out. I was like, oh, that's so cool. And other people create these things with backgrounds, with things that I would have I would never think to do that. Very creative, and that's what you want. You want that cream rising to the top. You want, it'll seem fair. Everyone gets the chance to win, and they do. But you have the people that are just so creative and ingenious with what they do, and that's the stuff that gets a lot of likes, that rises to the top, and that gets a lot of potential users think, oh, that's cool. How do you do that? I'd like to do something like that. And then obviously they learn that it's really hard. But that's one of the things that I really like. I like that Dan had tapered expectations with that video this morning, saying like, hey guys, just so you know, like if you're expecting like a Ready Player, he didn't say Ready Player One. If you're expecting that, like it's just going to be kind of like the showroom that we have now. That's going to be the first iteration. You'll have other tools in there, which is really cool. You'll have sound. You'll be able to stream in there. You'll be able to go in and have other people in there as well. So that's the type of thing that you can play poker in there, read your comics in there with other people. So that part's really cool. I like that. But any type of like big metaverse as of right now is probably not going to be in the cards for the first couple of months. They didn't give a timeline on when. They'll give us a little bit more in-depth video of what they'll do tomorrow, I think at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I won't have time to go over that. I'll be interviewing Figpin CEO Dan Williams tomorrow, so maybe on like Friday morning or Friday afternoon I will. But on top of that, when he goes and talks, not talk down about it, but he tries to lower those expectations, like that Mad TV skit. When we're talking about Ben and the hiring for the affiliate and the marketing and the head of growth marketing, they just put that press release out there, and I'm sure they're getting a bunch of applications. I'm really hoping that the people in whom the potential hirees are going to be working for, I hope they're the only ones involved in the hiring process. I'm really hoping HR is not involved. Anyway, that's just, I have to always say that because I do. And if you go and you let them build their own benefits and incentive package, that's something that, again, Ben said he's also incentivized to help VeVe grow. It's not going to be an overnight thing. I don't know this for sure, but if they said that, hey, here's what we want to do, here's the positions that we're hiring for, and here's what their duties are going to be, it's probably a good bet that all if not most, if not all of their duties, they haven't had a crack at it yet. So the affiliate marketing program, I don't think it's something that's built and they're just figuring out how to execute it. I think it's something that they're going to have to figure out. So even if they go and they get all these hirees before the end of the year, you might not see any headway on that for several months. But again, I really like that Ben is coming in and saying like, okay, guys, I don't know if they were just waiting for the bull market to come and they didn't want to spend all this money in the bear, but now that the bull market's here and Ben is here, and like, okay, and again, Ben's heavily incentivized to grow the company. He's spending that money, and I get it. It's nice to have that in the war chest or a rainy day or for whatever. But what is that movie with I forget the name of it. I forget anyone that's in it. But yes, if you keep your money on the sidelines, it's not in danger of getting lost. But you don't make much with it either. In order to go and make a lot more money, you got to spend a lot more money. How do you sell 1,000 dresses? You have to buy 1,000 dresses, and then you have to sell them. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I haven't thought about buying dresses in a while.
I don't know why I went to dresses.
I know.
People are going to read into that. That's it. Anyway.
Is there a certain lady friend on your mind?
I'm always, right? But there's, I don't know why I draw it. Anyway, what I really liked about Ben, David, I don't know if Dan actually reached out, but it seemed that everyone on the VeVe team and everyone in the VeVe fam was reaching out to LeBron, being like, "Hey, you like comics? We have the best." And the ones that got the most reactions on that thread were the VeVe fam. Todd McFarlane did go and comment on it as well, and then you had a couple people from Candy Digital. But LeBron, yes, great athlete, but you also don't get to his kind of superstardom and his type of life, his type of money by being an idiot. There is a decent amount. He's got a pretty good brain, and he's going to figure out, hey, it doesn't have to just be one or the other. I can look at both. And when he does look at both, I'm very confident into where most of his money will go at some point.
Yeah, VeVe's doing a good job at. Hopefully, they continue to stay in the lead position for the #1 digital collectibles marketplace and like provider or app as this idea of digital collecting goes huge. So, so far, I don't feel like anyone's close. I think Dapper Labs is the closest, and they're going after a very different niche, which is sports moments. And then they have the VeVe collector, or the Disney collector's pins. Cool. Like, that's their nearest competitor. All the other competitors that were competing for VeVe's exact marketplace have really struggled, many of them failing. I think McFarlane Toys is going to stay around. Crypt Toys, they're still solvent, right? They're still out there doing things. So a few competitors, which is cool. Like it just broadens the marketplace, and VeVe won't be like the end all be all. There will be other apps out there, but VeVe's still in the lead position for that. Is this idea catches hold? Don't let this idea won't catch hold until Bitcoin breaks 100,000. And there's this psychological thing that happens with people. They hear crypto, they hear NFT, and they're like, oh, I'm not interested. All of a sudden, Bitcoin breaks 100,000. They're like, wait, what? Oh, I knew I needed to get into that. Oh, and then they take it serious. And that's just human psychology, right? It's just predictably irrational. On a live stream earlier today where I had Paul from Definity on, and we were just going over some different price action, Abe was in there, and Abe asked, what's a book recommendation? One of the book recommendations that I really enjoyed was Predictably Irrational. And as human beings, our behavior is very irrational, but also predictable. And so, that's a big component of why you can make so much money in crypto. Do you realize that the OMI price being where it's at, now it was hard to predict that it would be this low. Was it easy to predict that it would probably get punished during a bear market? Yes. Is that pretty common? It's extremely common. Is it also pretty predictable that at these lows, people would be selling at disastrously low prices and losing faith in the token? Yes. Even when the company behind it is really, really strong, still people leaving in mass because they're scared, because people literally sell low and they buy high, or what happens usually their first time is they buy high and then they sell low. And that's predictably irrational behavior, which is why there's so much money to be made for those that do the opposite of that.
I like Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie, How to Bounce When Others Break. I forget who wrote that one.
Sounds interesting. What's that about? I mean, other than the obvious title.
It's just saying, it's all about determination and just the will. I think this weird connection, but if anyone's ever seen not the Jigsaw movie, not Scream, Saw, the Saw movies. I think it was Saw 4 or Saw 6. One of which all the puzzles are about like the will to live, and what the book represents is the will to just be better, be the best, or be better than you were yesterday. And it's not gonna kill you to be in freezing water for 30 seconds. But most people don't do it because they don't like to be uncomfortable. And I would love it if we get like all these CEOs to go in and be able to like do these challenges. All right, how long can you be in freezing water for? How long can you do this for? How long can you swim for? Because I want a CEO, and I want people that are going to complete the task, or they are, and this is going to sound very, very cold. They are going to complete the task, or they're going to break their mind and their spirit trying, because that's what it takes. I mean, you don't think that, and again, everyone on the surface, what they kind of have to be is like, yeah, we want to grow the hobby. We want success for everyone, because if Flow, Dapper Labs has success, and Cryptoys has success, and Disney Pinnacle, if all these other companies have success, yes, we grow. But you could be damn sure that each one of the CEOs of every single one of these companies, like, but we want to be number one. And that's one of the things that that book kind of teaches. 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, 8 Attributes of Great Achievement. I could go on. Love books.
You know what? Is it fair to say that most of the people that are usually like fudding on OMI haven't read some of these books? I would say that some of them have, right? And they're just newer to investing. And every once in a while, I hear some legitimate my internet. Every once in a while, I hear some legitimate concerns. I'm like, okay, yeah, very legitimate concern. I appreciate that. That's valid, and that's something to watch for. But they're just they don't understand the cyclical nature of these markets. Like Amazon was fudded on for like 8 years straight, and there were some very legitimate concerns. For example, they were bleeding in the red for like 15 years. They were negative, and they were borrowing money to stay alive, and literally like printing red every year for 15 years. And now they're one of the largest companies in the world. And there were a lot of people that lost faith during that time. And I remember the FUD was huge. And guess what? All those fudders forgot that they were fudding about it, because Amazon's become one of the biggest success stories in business. And like, I don't hear the fudders say, oh yeah, but they're such idiots because they were like down for forever, which is all I heard for like 6 to 7 years. And so like VeVe, what people will see is OMI will turn around and will go crazy. And then like all the fudders' voices will be completely muted. It's not like they can't say anything. They just won't, because they'll look really dumb. Because, you know, some of them will be smart about it and learn and be like, I didn't realize that could happen. I thought OMI was dead and it turned around, and oh my gosh, what can I learn from this? That'll probably be like 3% of the fudders. 97% will probably be like, oh my gosh, they're just idiots and they just got lucky, and not learn how normal this is. In bear markets, like tokens get punished more than they should. VeVe could go out and spend $200,000. They could spend $200 million on marketing, and they could grow their audience some, but if they just wait till the bull market, and the bull market is already raging, and they work out this influencer deal, because you and I know an influencer, you know him better than I do, that has a Spanish channel that has, 10 million viewers or something crazy?
It's got 8 million on X and like 19 million on YouTube and another couple million on TikTok. It's wild.
So him, and he's just one example, but imagine all these big YouTube channels all of a sudden have an incentive to cover VeVe, because if people come in and trade on it, they get some kind of referral program. Holy cow, that's going to be huge, and that will be legal, right? Yeah. So I don't know how legal it is if a certain person named starts with a B goes in and pays influencers to talk about projects that they don't know anything about without disclosing they're getting paid to talk about. I don't know how legal that kind of stuff is, but a referral program that's disclosed is absolutely legal. And you'll see a lot of credible influencers that aren't just shielding crap come in, and they'll look into VeVe themselves. They'll probably collect it. They'll probably show their own stuff and be talking about it. Meanwhile, everybody's focus is going to crypto and digital collectibles. And then the VeVe app will go crazy. And when the VeVe app goes crazy, what I've seen happen in crypto is everyone say, what's the token associated with that? What's the token? Oh my gosh, OMI. OMI goes absolutely nuts during that period. And then as OMI goes nuts, people that know nothing about VeVe just see the OMI price moving. And guess what? People chase green candles. Like they buy something, even if it's already gone 100x, thinking that it will go 100x again from there. Doesn't usually work out well for those people. Just like, you know, people sell massive red candles because they assume what has been happening will continue to happen.
Yeah, but I'm doing some math on that. Are all 30 million of that guy's followers going to watch like the one video he makes? Probably not. But are like 500,000 people going to watch that and be interested? Yeah, sure. And even if VeVe only gives 1% of stuff spent on the store, if 500,000 people go in, and let's say they don't go crazy. I mean, let's say it averages out at, let's say $50 that people put in. You know, some will put in like 10 and some will put in thousands, but let's just say it averages out to 50. And let's say out of those 500,000 people that watch, maybe only 50,000 of those people actually go and put in that $50. Well, it's $2.5 million. And it's like, okay, well, they're not getting all of that. They're getting a percentage of that. But even if it's just 1%, it's a nice 25 grand for making what, a 6-minute video. Just say like, hey guys, I just got the first appearance of blah, blah, blah. I mean, they have the Marvel Mighties coming up. They can go on and be like, hey, this is cool. It's the first appearance of Mephisto on the blockchain, or any one of those that's on the blockchain. They have Werewolf by Night as well. They have a bunch of stuff. And yeah, they'll do that. They'll help sell out. It'll, not that it's going to need help selling out. There's a bunch of scarcity in there anyway. And of course there's going to be futters. What Ben Shapiro likes to say is to know the arguments of the other side better than, and be able to argue it better than they can. And one of the arguments I've seen is that there's been lack of communication or lack of stuff done with the Veveverse. They would say like, okay, there's been nothing done in a year. It's like, well, not exactly. There's been not much done with the Veveverse. And okay, why is that? We can't just leave it at that. We have to go into it. And you go into it, and Dan says, okay, when there's something like VeVe Comics and we get that opportunity and it falls in our lap, something that's going to make us millions of dollars, probably like $1 million just in the first year, not including the tens of millions it'll make over the course of their lifetime, if not hundreds of millions, you kind of put Veveverse on the back burner. When you have something like Blackpink, when you have other things that that looks like it's going to make a big splash, it makes sense that they would go in. And now, should they have communicated better on that? Absolutely. But again, they addressed that this morning. And since Ben's gotten there, I don't think there's been a day that's gone by where he hasn't been on a Spaces, where he hasn't been on a stream, where he hasn't communicated or shown one of these videos in some way. So again, if you want to focus on the transgressions of the past, you can. If you want to live in yesterday, you can. But if you want to look towards the future, look at the present and see what they're learning. I don't know. That's just kind of what I'm doing.
Yeah, we are live and wanted to jump in and catch up on some comments. Wes said before we started streaming, I admire you guys' consistently. I think you meant to say consistency, but let's be honest. OMI still has a long ways to go before it starts moving upwards. You're probably not wrong. The trend on the token is that it might go down more in the short term. Okay, cool. Yeah, like I think it'll actually get a little bit cheaper from here. Okay. Bill Gardner says, let's get this bread. Like if it gets cheaper from here, some people are like, that's terrible. It's like, okay. If you believe in the future of OMI, do you like cheap prices? Do you like when it gets cheaper? Cool. If you don't believe in the future of OMI, just watch and see how it works out from here. Bill Gardner, let's get this bread. And then Bobby Green with black garlic butter. Beerman here. Beerman, did not see you at NFT NYC. I expected to see you there. Seems like this bread is about to be buttered. Yeah. Energy, Chronor, what's up, brother? Shankster, Robel. Hey, what's going on? Robel, I can't remember. Am I saying that right? Robel?
Yeah, stack them DeLoreans. That'd
Yeah,
be great. It's gonna have
when
a
they
bleep.
launched, I bought a whole ton of the commons.
Yeah.
People are ignorant and resentful. Yeah, resentful is interesting. You ever see that people like they break up with someone, like they were absolutely in love with somebody, and then they break up with them 2 months later, and they can then never say another good word about them.
Yeah,
There's
that's sad.
this thing that we have to see somebody is all good or all bad. Now, as you get better at emotional maturity, you can see the good and the bad both at the same time. But sometimes when people break up with one of their investments, they can never see the positive from that again, even though just months prior, they couldn't see anything but the positives. And so that just has to do with emotional maturity. When you're in the investment space, you want to try to go in eyes wide open. When you're new at this, it's hard because you're just new at this. You're learning. And so as you become an experienced investor, then you learn to go in eyes wide open. And even when you decide to part ways with an investment, you can still see the good and the bad there. Instead of having to decide they're the worst ever and they make every bad decision and the project's dead and it's a rug pull. Okay, cool. Can you give me a more educated version of why you think you're pulling your investment other than that? All right. VV Ben, let's go. What a great day to be in crypto. My bags still have a little more room. Yes, brother. Travis says, yo, peeps. What's up, Travis?
What up, fam?
Arnold Schwarzenegger endorses Kamala. Really? That is interesting.
I mean, he's a Democrat, right? Makes sense.
For all intents and purposes, right? So,
yeah. Did you see the picture of Trump riding in a garbage truck today? Like 12 hours after Biden calls his supporters garbage.
Dude, he is
so funny.
Trump is so good at trolling, right? Like he is the king at trolling. Disappointed. No date for Veveverse has yet to be announced. I would just slow all your expectations on Veveverse. I know I have because they've expanded the scope tremendously. And when I worked for a consulting company many years ago, you had to worry about, like, do you want things now? Do you want them good? And do you want them cheap? If you want them cheap and you can only pick one of those things to focus on, two if you're lucky, but not three. So you want it now, it's not going to be cheap and it's not going to be good. If you want it good, it's not going to be cheap and it's not going to be now. So realize that, like, they have to juggle these priorities. And when they greatly increase the scope, that means they want it a lot bigger. Well, then you have to sacrifice things. Now, if they come in and drop 100 million, they could get it faster and maybe it would be some form of good, but it'd be less good. I think they're going for good. And so that means the timeline is extended. That means that, it depends on where they are and what they're willing to spend for cost. My guess is they're probably not trying to break the piggy bank on that. So that means the timeline just gets pushed a lot. I like to see it more like Second Life. Interesting.
Yeah, that was a great game. That was like the first Metaverse.
Yes, it really is. And you could buy and sell stuff. It was really well done. And that game, I never played it, but I know a lot of people that did. And I know a few people that made stuff in the game, which creating something where you can make stuff in the game and sell it, brilliant.
I saw a documentary on it once. Michio Kaku is a theoretical physicist, and he's like one of the best in the world. And he played it in like 2012, 2010, something like that. And if you're a theoretical physicist, you're obviously going to be a little bit of a nerd. And he was just wowed with, like, oh wow, I can make this, like, and he interviewed people that legit, like, made a living doing that. They made clothes in there, they sold the clothes, and they did that enough to where they didn't need to work. I was like, oh, that's pretty heckin' awesome.
Yeah, so cool. I mean, truly, that is the first metaverse that I'm aware of, especially enabling your ability to buy and sell. I played EVE Online back in 2003, 2004, and there was a policy that you couldn't sell stuff, but they didn't really enforce it. So you could just sell stuff on eBay, and then you could escrow it to people in the game. And so, like, that was an early metaverse, and that got shut down. I guess somebody joined a corporation. After 2 years, they promoted him to executive level, and then he stole everything from their corporate hangars. And so then the people in the corporation are like, hey, we want you to reverse these transactions because he stole it. And it's like, well, you gave him permissions. Yeah, but we didn't give him permissions thinking he was going to steal it. Well, you still did. You gave him permissions, and so he stole it. He didn't hack the system. You gave him permissions. If he had hacked the system, we would reverse that. Well, we're going to sue you because that's worth millions of dollars. And they're like, what do you mean it's worth millions of dollars? Well, we could sell all this stuff on eBay for millions of dollars. Oh, yeah, let's take care of that. And they reached out to eBay. eBay immediately shut down your ability to sell anything on eBay, and they started enforcing their policy. Great. Thank you, XYZ Corporation or whatever corporation that was, for ruining it for everyone. I was quite enjoying making money playing video games back in 2003. And as far as I know, like, I guess people continue to make money selling gold in World of Warcraft, which you could do it on a black market. So those are some of the early metaverses, kind of. But Second Life embraced your ability to make and sell stuff. So truly the first metaverse out there. And as you can see, metaverses can be wildly successful.
There seems to be a trend with these video games where you can sell the in-game currency, and it's a lot of second and third world countries. It doesn't really make much sense for people to spend, like 10, 20 hours on doing something just to make like 50 or $100, at least not in the first world. But in the second or third world, where a salary could be like $500 a month, work 20 hours, get $100. Oh, boom, you could suddenly quadruple your salary if you do that. So it does happen in those worlds, or in those countries. I think if they can, but again, if that increases the usership, if VeVe can do something like that, where even in unintended, it's a byproduct of what they do, then I think that's something that, again, just increases users. And then once that happens, boom.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how it comes together. The fact that they can make these ongoing residuals as stuff changes hand, that builds in some profit margins for them to stay profitable. Because one of the big concerns is that VeVe somehow goes out of business. But they're setting things up the right way. That is, they're introducing new things. They make some money there. As things resell, they make some money there. And my guess is when the market goes crazy, they end up with massive amounts of cash and are greatly able to expand what they've already done. And I think they go really big. I think they end up in permanent history, right, for like the next 50 years. I see them making the right decisions to go towards that, which is why I'm so heavily invested in the OMI token. And I have a decent sized investment in VeVe Collectibles. It's not near what I put into OMI. Back to the chats. Harry J says Veveverse is tomorrow, man.
Well, that video comes out tomorrow. Yeah. So I can't wait. I can't wait for that. I'm curious what they'll do. For those of you that don't know, the Corbin Dallas character that's over that they always show in the Veveverse, that is Dan's character. That is his name over on VeVe. Hope he doesn't. I feel like he's told that before. I'm not like spoiling anything, but if you ever see anyone thing for sale or anyone, who bought this? Oh, it's Corbin Dallas. It's him. Speaking of stuff on VeVe, shall we go over a couple of sales? The most recent, the Elmo 1980, which there was two bounties on that for. Comics and Crypto had one for 1,500. Somebody else had one for like 1,750, and it wound up selling for $2,456 at auction. Thought that was pretty awesome. And speaking of bounties, the Fantastic Four number 48 originally had a bounty of $2,000, and then 25 for the mint number 1966. That is the first appearance of Galactus, first appearance of Silver Surfer. So it's really important. They had it at 2,000, then they raised it to 2,500, and it still hasn't been minted. It actually has about 30-ish hours before they're burned, and it's gone forever. So they've raised it to $5,000, which is heckin' nuts. But really not that nuts when you see a couple of the other things that's going on. When you look at Topps Chrome Marvel Sapphire Edition, hobby boxes are selling for over $750 on eBay. There are only 8 packs per box, 4 cards per pack. So it's about $94 per pack. And then you have some of them that go for the cards that go for insane amounts. You have the Spider-Man #1 Red Refractor sell for 18,000. Same thing for Spider-Man #1. It's 1 of 5. So one was like a 1 of 5, one was a 3 of 5. A Wolverine sell for 17,000. Another one sell for 15,000. And then today, Comics and Crypto had some news, and Ben retweeted that as well, about a Mickey card from 2023 Disney 100 Chrome. It is a 1 of 1. It sold for $500,000. And I think that's what Comics and Crypto is looking to do here. The Juggernaut is also going to be burned over on super early Friday morning, like 3 in the morning, Halloween night. So they have a bounty out for $4,000 for the mint number 1965. Not the Juggernaut in the Marvel Mighties, but the Juggernaut, the first one we have. I think that was from San Diego Comic-Con. So yeah, that's some of the sales data. Oh, and then the VeVe Gold logo, of course. The big pins, they've had sales for a couple for 500, 2 for 650, 1 for 1,000, and then you had one that was already redeemed, so it was already open, got out of the packaging. That sold for 250, so that was really small. But the unredeemed ones seemed to go for 500 to 1,000.
So catching up on some more comments, Harry J loved the dress change, or the dress.
The dress.
The dress change. Yes, we were changing dresses, live streaming. It was amazing. If you missed it, you missed out. It won't be on the replay. My YouTubers, what's up, guys? What's up, Captain Kurt? Bill Gardner. Most people fighting OMI are immature and need life experience. Agreed with that. Most. I think most covers it very well. I wouldn't say every single one of them, but most definitely. Bill Gardner. I battle them daily on X. I just don't have room. I'm going to let time do all the heavy lifting for me, which I know what the percent chances are, at least my opinion on what the percent chances are. They're really high that OMI does well from here. And perhaps I'm wrong on that, but we'll let time do the heavy lifting, and time is going to do the argument for me.
I say I don't have time also, yet I spent 13 hours today playing that new Pokemon game, so I kind of have no leg to stand on over there.
Can't say I'm very impressed with Dan. I really enjoyed meeting him. I got to talk with him more than I ever have before at this last thing, and he is so cool and chill. I haven't heard him on AMAs a lot, so I don't have an informed opinion on this, other than I really enjoyed meeting him. David, I have more of an informed opinion on. David, I'm extremely impressed with.
Dan is very hardworking. Yeah, I feel like nobody sees it because a lot of the stuff is just done in the background, but he's incredibly hardworking. And yes, obviously impressed with Ben as well.
Yeah, very impressed with Ben. What a great hire. So, yeah, they're doing the right things. A lot of times the people who start the company, later on as you get some traction, you bring in like CEOs to like run it. It sometimes happens that the founders continue to run and make the decision at the top level. You see that with Mark Zuckerberg. You see that with Amazon. But even with Amazon, Jeff Bezos, like he has a lot of people running so much of the things. Mark Zuckerberg is still technically at the helm, but really he's got really well-seasoned business people under him that run most of the departments. And so they abstract a lot of that stuff away from them. Dan and David are getting to that point. I mean, David probably didn't want to run the day-to-day stuff. He wanted to just go out and sign licensing deals and have a bigger vision and build out the vision 2 years into the future and have somebody running the day-to-day operations running that. And yeah, I feel like they got a great person for that role. And so I'm glad to see that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just reading this comment from Planet Vampire. Many of us found OMI before VeVe. More U.S. exchange would also allow more people to easily hold OMI without participating in collectibles.
Preach.
Yes, absolutely, brother.
I'm hoping for that as well. I feel like a lot of people, it would be cool if you can replace chat. Unfortunately, like if you just have it on a closed ecosystem, then it seems to me that we've had that for a while and no exchanges. And if we want to be seen as a utility token, we kind of have to have a third party. I think Dapper Labs just paid like what $4 million for that as well, because they were on a closed ecosystem and they had to go and get it off. I think Crypto is doing that. Others are doing that as well. And part of the reason why they brought in Ben is because this happens in tech all the time. You have these amazing people, and a lot of times it's in Silicon Valley. You have these incredible, ingenious people that are going, and they have these wonderful ideas, and they have this work ethic, they have this camaraderie, and they get it done, and they're geniuses and titans in their field. But once that idea is kind of happening, and then they have to start managing other people, and they've never done that before, you need people that are a little bit more disagreeable. You need people that are a little more conscientious. You need people that are used to running a business and that are not going to get close to their workers, that have no issue being like, hey, you're in the bottom 10%, we're here, and you're not producing, you're not doing what you need to do. Now, you have a month to get it together, and if you don't, you're gone, and we'll replace you with someone else, because everyone's going to want to work at VeVe. Everyone's going to want to work with the IP. So again, do I know 100% that's what Ben's doing? No, but I've seen this story happen. I've seen this play before. I've seen this happen multiple times. Again, a lot of times in Silicon Valley, in tech, which a lot of this is. So this happens a lot, and I'm pretty excited to see what he's doing. And he hit the ground running, going, dipping into that tail, going and getting these hires. Can't wait.
Yeah, I love golf. Made it for the glasses. Win more dance moves. Well, some of you caught the video on Twitter. We're at the party, showed off some dance moves. Yes, and Randy shows off his dance moves right on camera on a frequent basis.
Forgot about that. We'll do it again soon. Habba Hotel. No, what's a Habba Hotel? I know the dude. So for those of you that don't know, I will be going to Vegas for a little bit of decon, a little bit of R&R, a little bit of other stuff. And in between Reno and Vegas, there's a clown motel. And I really, really, really want to go. But I'm going to Google the Habba Hotel because I like to broaden my horizons. One of the most popular virtual world. Oh, it's a okay, we can't go there at this world. The virtual world on the planet. Meet new people, make new friends, blah, 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 play with plus numerous. Okay, I'll look into that later.
This is definitely a question for you, Randy.
It is. I'm obviously an OG Pokemon player, TCG back in the day. I did play back in the day when it was, you had to go to tournaments at Toys R Us. Say that 5 times fast. And you had to go and battle a certain amount of people. You get a badge, and if you won enough, you got invited to regional tournaments. You won that, you got invited to Worlds, etc. I was like 7 years old, and I could not. I was nowhere near that. But then, as we got older, and they had a Game Boy game for it, and you just were able to go and do it in different ways. And it evolved slowly but steadily as cards got different, as things got different, the mess of playability. What they're doing here with this game is they're holding it to just certain popular Pokemon, a lot of which is in the first generation, and they have it all the way through, I don't know, like Gen 6, Gen 7. I think Froakie is one of the most recent ones. And they only have it at 286 Pokemon cards. Now, obviously, there's going to be a ton of expansions, but for this type of thing, yes, you can go and spend money and people want to collect the rarity. But for this, when you go on and you're rewarded by battling and winning, it's about playability. So you could have a card that is in EX and it's full art and it's awesome. But when you have that card and it looks cool and it's super rare, it's like a 0.002% chance of getting it. But when there's another card that is not an EX, if your EX card gets defeated in battle, it costs you 2 points. If you lose 3 points, you lose the whole battle. And when you have these other cards that are maybe not as good, or at least not as rare, but they have just a little bit less health and maybe a little bit less attack, but they only cost 1 point if they get defeated, that just it changes the game. And unlike the originally you used to have 6 prizes or 6 different had to knock out 6 Pokemon. Now you only have to have 3. The battles are a lot quicker. It's a lot more fun. And this is something that goes in and shows people that digital collecting, like this is the future. I haven't bought Pokemon cards like for pleasure in I don't know how many years. I bought them all the time for investing because I had that second business with it. And that was fun. It was great. It's always fun making money. But I never really got into playing because it costs a lot of money to go in and build those decks. The resale value is not really as good. And if you want to have a fire deck, a grass deck, a lightning deck, a dragon deck, a metal deck, it takes a lot of space. But digitally, like I have 900 cards on there since this morning, and it doesn't take up any space at all. So that just gets people really more comfortable with that idea of digital collecting. And if there's any company that you want to do that with, it's going to be Pokemon. So I'm not sure people really understand that right now, but they will. Is that going to take a couple months, or is it going to take towards the end of the bull market? We don't know, but I'm glad to see that they are doing this. You can play for free. It is kind of a pay to win type of situation. But none of these are on the blockchain, which means that the first appearance of a lot of these could still be on VeVe. Very excited about that.
Yeah, like some of these companies have built these things, but they're still very Web 2 and they're not Web 3 enabled. They haven't really come around to fully realizing how big Web 3 and this idea of ownership is. Like CSGO is a great example of what happens when you have a popular IP and you give people ownership. The amount people spend on some of those skins is crazy, and you can resell them, but you pay a 15% transaction tax. I think in the worst case scenarios, what are we paying on VeVe? Like 8.25%. If 6% goes to Disney,
8.5 for the highest, yeah.
Yeah, and so like that's still like way cheaper than what people are paying on Steam to sell their CS:GO stuff. And is it true ownership? It's very centralized, just like VeVe right now is centralized. But this idea of ownership is going to be a big deal. Now, digital collectibles hasn't really caught on. CS:GO is a Web 2 video game that's really big already. So the makers of CS:GO are making a fortune from selling the loot crates. Like what I don't like about that whole system is literally you can't earn those skins by playing. You just have to buy the loot crates and essentially gamble. I love this idea when you get it through playing something and you can get it and then potentially resell it. I think that's where like blockchain gaming is going to go, and this idea of ownership. As well as digital collectibles, like people spend so much money on card packs like crazy for baseball cards, football cards, Pokemon cards. You take that into the digital realm and they'll continue to buy. They'll eventually trade buying like physical items for digital items because the ability to turn around and resell it is instantaneous. Like even with VeVe, you buy something and you can put it on the marketplace and somebody on the other side of the world can buy it like that with very low transaction costs. And that's why digital collectibles, I think, will go worldwide.
Great. Shout out to the super chatter over here. Doug R. sending Art the Clown from Terrifier, some other characters, the franchise. Would be a huge jump on the NFT competition for VeVe. I would love that. In the interview I had with Ben Rose, I was like, hey, do we still have the Universal license? And I was like, yeah, we do. I was like, can we use that, please? Like, they are really dropping the ball. And I get it. We have a couple of things for spooky season, and that's fine. That's cool. I'm okay with getting the Cryptkins. I've been wanting that for a while. I'm okay with some of these the creepy movie posters from the 80s that we're getting. That's cool too. But when you have something as timeless as like Dracula and the Mummy and Frankenstein, like all of like, oh my God, like, and I understand the Cryptkins. Again, I have all the Cryptkins. I will be getting this one as well. I'll be getting those movie tombstones from that 80s movie. But and again, I'll be buying them. But it's like, oh, we don't need Universal Monsters. We have Universal Monsters at home. And it's like, okay, here's the Universal Monsters at home. So I get it where it's like, can we get monsters? And they're like, what's his name from Stranger Things? Like, this is monsters. But I am 100%. You are preaching to the choir. I would also love those big Terrifiers. I would love Pennywise isn't Universal, but I would just classic monsters. I would thoroughly enjoy. Maybe one day.
Randy loves his monsters.
I do. I tried to assume the question when I'd be like, oh, hey, a few years ago, I mentioned Recur, and is it going to be easier to get those, to buy those licenses or just have the IP, roll back the truck and come on VeVe? And David said, don't worry, we're already working on those licenses. And I was like, so which one's coming first? We get Hey Arnold, or are we getting Rugrats first? And Ben's like, I see what you did there. We're not going to say that. But yeah, hopefully we get those as well. Ben's very tight-lipped. I really like that. I know I want leaks more than anyone else, but I'm really happy. that he's very tight-lipped like that. And speaking of tight-lipped, people are saying like, hey, what about OMI? I haven't seen the team mention it. So first, he does work for VeVe. He does not. He's not an Ecomi employee technically, although I'm sure he works with them hand in hand. Also, the SEC is very. They might be feckless, but they're not 100% incompetent. And if they want to get a victory, I mean, they've tried. They haven't yet, but any type of forward-looking statements or anything that could be perceived as forward-looking statements, VeVe's probably not going to make. Now, it's one thing to talk about, hey, we have an exchange coming, because they've done that with, I think it's BitGet and Mexi. Cool, that makes sense because it's something that's happening. But any type of thing where they say like, hey, we have high hopes for OMI because of X, Y, and Z, because we're doing this. Again, that could be perceived as a forward-looking statement. SEC comes down. It's just, I guarantee you, the legal Dave and the rest of their legal team is probably like, hey, these are the things you cannot. They probably have training for this, like minimum 45 minutes a day. I'll just do not do this. So that's one of the reasons why they probably would not mention OMI, at least not in passing. Are you going to want to do something like that? Would I love them to talk about it? Sure. I'd love to hear that 2-syllable, 3-letter word come out of their mouth. But again, why would you want to risk that on something that could potentially make them liable for something? I don't hear you.
Oh, there's a lot of people that want to hear VeVe talking about OMI a lot more, and it would make them feel better. Is that the smart approach? And when I explain to them why it's not the smart approach, they're just like, oh, you're just a VeVe maximalist, or you're just defending the team. And it's like, what don't you get about what the regulatory environment in the US is like? Where unfortunately the SEC is not incompetent. They are doing this stuff very strategically. I don't fully know the reasons why, but they're very much anti-crypto. Now, it could be that I think Elizabeth Warren has a huge hand in directing the SEC in their actions. And she's put together an anti-crypto army, and her goal is to destroy crypto as much as she can. Maybe because perhaps her wealth, I don't know how she went from 10 million net worth to 70 something or 82 million in the last 10 years. I don't know how that happened. As a senator, she doesn't get paid all that much, but perhaps there's some interests she has that aren't fully disclosed with some entrenched businesses, banks, or somebody, because why she's gone so anti-crypto, I can't say I fully know. It is not to protect people. The SEC is not protecting people. When you go into Mila Kunis's project, whatever, I forget the name of that NFT project, and then you have to say, like, essentially make it so nobody can sell these, and they just ruin the project. That screws all the US people that had bought that project. And you make them shut down. Like, that didn't protect any US investors. That effed all the US investors. So they're not protecting US investors. They're trying to shut crypto down. And you make yourself an easy target, because realize that even if you win, you lose when they direct their efforts towards you. Ripple is a good example. Like, so far it's going decently well for them when it gets before a judge eventually, but they spent $200 million. So did it really go well for them? It went terrible for them because they spent $200 million they could have spent developing what they're doing. So VeVe would be really dumb to come out and be talking about OMI all the time. It's kind of like when you have trained snipers aiming at your position, poking your head out as much as possible. That would be really, really stupid. Or when a machine gun is firing on your position, which is exactly what's happening with the SEC towards crypto, is the SEC is firing a machine gun at the crypto space. And so when you're a big target that has Disney IP and you have all this major IP, you're a big target. And if you poke your head out, well, guess what? You're going to get a lawsuit directed at you. And then you have to spend tens of millions of dollars defending it. So I personally would be very concerned if they were talking about OMI all the time. I don't want them talking about OMI at all. Like, at all right now. Why? Because I don't want an SEC directed lawsuit at them. And so they're being smart about that. And anybody who doesn't get that after this explanation, Well, perhaps I failed in explaining it well, or perhaps you just don't understand strategic business. Like one of those two. Maybe I did a terrible explanation, or you just are really young in your business understanding.
I thought the explanation was spot on. Now, if you could explain to me the birds and the bees, I never had that conversation with my father. That'd be great. I would love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, for the propagation of the species, we're generally attracted to the opposite sex. That's not 100%. I don't know what the exact numbers are, but generally, can we say we're attracted to the opposite gender, and that's what helps the species continue to populate. And that's as deep as I'm going to get on this stream.
It's amazing.
If you think about it, why do they call it the birds and the bees? If you think about it, like, what do birds and bees have to do with each other?
I don't know. I've actually never had that conversation before. I've one way from down to me when I was a kid, and then I've never had to do it the other way either because I don't have kids. So I was like, I wonder how like you do it, and I was just curious. Thanks for that. That was good. I guess if I were to try to explain it with the birds and the bees, like hummingbirds, I guess, because bees move pollen and hummingbirds go and they get the nectar. I don't know. I have zero idea how they go and do that.
Yeah. What is
Anyway,
the hummingbird doing to that flower? And could that be considered deflowering? I don't know. I don't know. Okay, getting back on topic. Robel says, we are finally getting OMI utility with the launch of the Veveverse because we have Stacker. And Bela Lugosi and Eon Chaney would be insane.
Bela Lugosi and are they artists? I can go and Google because I live in that age. Guy Thompson. So as adults, Randy, what happened to your whales? You said you were going to buy in. Oh, we've had a very good time, dollar cost averaging, and I mean, you can only put so much in when there's so much sell volume. So be advised, there's hundreds of thousands of volume like each day. So a multiple of 7 figures could go in over the course of a year. And then there's still that sell volume. Again, it's I don't want to say easy to manipulate, but it's easy to go in and prevent something from going down below a certain, not that you go and try and like defend the floor of whatever it is, but it's easy to go in and scoop up a lot when the market cap of a company is like $5 million or 8 or 10, $20 million, whatever. But when the market cap's over $100 million, that's kind of a lot to want to go in and say, hey, let's scoop all of it up. Because again, you do have to diversify as well. But I'm going to go and look up Bella.
Well, there's an implied assumption in that statement, right? That if the whales had bought, the price wouldn't be as low as it is. And you're just wrong there. I know that these whales have bought massive amounts of OMI, and yet the price is where it is. Cool. Well, that means that there have been massive numbers of sellers. And I think Bitfrex kind of piled on top of that because a lot of people who got their money back from Bitfrex, they're like, oh, I thought I had lost this money, so I'm just going to go ahead and sell it now that I have it back. And that's continued to push prices down lower than many ever thought it would go. And so now it's at this really low price. So you have 2 decisions to make with the price. I guess 3. One is buy more at the current price. Second one is sell at the current price. Or number 3 is just wait. Well, I don't know. Option number 1 sounds amazing. Option number 3 sounds amazing. Selling at this current price, nah, you can make that decision, and we'll see like who regrets the decisions they make out of that.
So there's one thing that VeVe seems to be on the up and up with things as far as tech. David's saying they want to have AI in the Veveverse for certain things. Have you heard of Alex Wilchko from Osmo Lab? He's the so anyway, what he does is, or what the company does is they're trying to make it so like we have sound and sight that is able to be transportable, and you can like again, you're hearing me from thousands of miles away, and you're seeing me from thousands of miles away because we have that have the ability to take that data, turn it into ones and zeros, and put it in on the other side. They have just transported smell, and they did it across like 50 feet, but they had, yeah, they took the smell of like a plum, and they said, okay, here's like the scent plans of this plum, or here's like where it is, put it in the computer, and then they 3D printed uh, the essence of that plum on the other side of the room. It came out as a liquid, and then you got to smell that plum from like 50 feet away. So obviously it's in its infancy right now, but the next sense is obviously the next step would be, I guess, down the block, then down the down the road. Um, if VeVe could do that and were able to get access to that, what type of things would you want to smell? Would you want to smell Slimer from Ghostbusters? Would you want to smell the sunflower grin from Ron English? Somewhere in between?
I don't know that that's a technology that can do very well because cost would be extreme. Think of it like you have to have. So think about your laser printer, your digital printer that has like what, black and then 3 different colors, and they can make a combination of things to make it look like any color that you want. And you have to replace those cartridges. Imagine the cost of having all the different ingredients, the different liquids that they can mix to make any kind of smell. And so your cost is, I can't imagine will be feasible in time. Like, so would VeVe employ something like that? I don't know. Like Slimer goo, like that's an interesting question, right? Like Slimer goo, or like the Disney princesses could smell like different fragrances. I don't know what else would have a smell associated with it. The DeLorean could smell like oil.
Oh, it'd be cool. Be like a mechanic shop.
Like it's a little bit of burning oil and carbon fumes.
I would like. I mean, I have anosmia, so I don't have any sense of smell. So I'd be curious for everyone to make like a concoction of like the worst smelling thing that they could think of, and then see if it actually affects me. See if I can smell it.
Let's see. Planet Vampire says you need to beehive yourselves. I don't know what that is. Maybe that's a reference I don't get.
Oh, that's
Chase?
just because we were talking about the birds and the bees, behave, beehive.
Oh,
yeah. What up, Chase?
Yeah, didn't catch that one. Crazy Dan says yo yo yo.
Woo-hoo.
Love it. Chase, woohoo! Boy,
gotta love him.
Doug R, would love to see the Universal Classic monsters as well. I love the new Creep Show drops coming up.
Oh, that's what they're called. Yeah, I forgot what they were called. Just in time for Halloween. You doing any plans for Halloween?
No, taking my lady out dancing. I didn't get anything to dress up because some of the costumes I want are like really expensive, and I was like, I just have all my money in crypto. I don't keep a lot of disposable income out there for like random things. Like I'm 99.9% in crypto because at these prices, like I'm sharing with you like the decisions that I'm making, guys. What decisions you make is up to you, but I'm heavy in this. And if crypto goes really bad, well, thankfully McDonald's is always hiring, I guess. I'm not President Trump. Maybe, I'd have to go through an in-depth interview process of in like, oh, you have a university degree? Okay, we'll hire you. But like, yeah, I'll be out on, getting a regular job. I think it's going to go just fine for me, but I did redeploy all my capital back into crypto. I don't have any real estate holdings right now, have anything other than crypto. So we'll see how this goes.
If I didn't have the experience in the high risk lending, and I could go back to that at any time, but if I didn't have that, I'm not sure what I would do at this point. Maybe get back into Pokemon card flipping, but that kind of takes time and it takes a lot of capital to do so. I don't know what to do. I'd find something. Maybe I can't do the military again. My body's too broken. I'll go and I'll try to see regulations on big exchanges. I didn't say I was stopping it on big exchanges. I said regulation, or at least the lack of regulation, was stopping them from doing things that they wanted to do. One of them was having land sales. That was a big thing that was going to burn a lot of OMI. And then the land sales, because the SEC started targeting people that did that, couldn't really do that anymore. And then when you had something like, again, buybacks, same thing. Everyone was doing buyback until the SEC started prosecuting those people. And it's like, okay, well, I guess we're not doing that anymore. But
And
I said that they wouldn't.
Flow put themselves on the SEC's radar. We know what they paid in their settlement. We don't know how much they spent in millions of dollars for their legal fees last year. So is that a position we want VeVe to be in? Now, one of the reasons is the exchanges have made it really hard to list right now. So even though like them going on Coinbase, does it increase their regulatory scrutiny, the SEC towards OMI a little bit, a little bit? Would it be worth doing? Well, yeah, if they can get on Coinbase right away, great. That would be great. Coinbase is extra cautious, right? What's the latest with that lawsuit? One judge had said all this stuff is so essentially the SEC said all these different things you have on your exchange are securities. And one judge said, nope, they're not securities based on this, but it's gone to an appeals court and the SEC is appealing that ruling. So they let that ruling stand for like a year, almost a year, right before the date they then appealed it. So they're just stretching this out and making it as costly for these different crypto companies as possible. Like as one judge out of Utah said, the SEC isn't dealing in good faith here. They're acting arbitrary and capricious. Like they have a very anti-crypto bent. And the U.S. regulatory agencies are very powerful, and it costs you a lot in legal fees when you have to go up against them. So one of the problems with getting on Coinbase is Coinbase is scrutinizing extra hard because they don't want additional lawsuits against them for having a token that might be deemed a security on them. So it's harder to get on Coinbase than it used to be.
Yeah, a lot harder. And again, obviously you have the meme coins, which have no expectation of utility. And again, like who you're gonna sue? Like if the owners aren't doxxed, if there's no whatever, it's just there's no one to go after. But with OMI, when you have an actual utility token, again, likely you would have. I don't know if it would be Coinbase right away. And I'm trying to think the most likely exchange. I mean, crypto.com got that Wells notice. So if we want to get a U.S. exchange, it might take a while. So we'll see.
Yeah, but I would like to see them get on Coinbase, right? That would be amazing because it would make it easier for U.S. buyers to be able to buy. And that's the number one exchange you can get on, really. Coinbase is the mother of all exchanges you can want to be on. So I would love for them to be on Coinbase. They're not yet. I hope at some point they are. Some grumpy cat family in the house. I don't do coins at all, but Randy does. Randy also loves gambling. I don't.
I do. Going to Vegas soon for that. But so I typically don't do meme coins. It's just the cat that we're doing is just because now that the VeVe Curator program is out, is that I'm funding and I am writing the comic. We have other artists as well, but we will go on it. I've been talking. The last two guys I've talked to, Greg Weick, who owner of Beyond Comics, and Carl Choi, who he's responsible for Evermind. He's ahead of 247 Comics Publishing, and there's like, hey, if you're gonna I've just been asking them, like, hey, what's the best thing to do? How much content do you want to have before you go on something like VeVe? And there's like, okay, yeah, X, Y, and Z. So they're telling me what to do. We want to make that a success. But again, that's just because I want to give that type of utility. Again, typically I don't do those types of meme coins, but if they're letting me make a comic with all these cool characters, I'm gonna jump on that. It's something I've always wanted to do. So I figured, why not? If I could be Hillary Duff in 2005, why not take a crazy chance? Sorry, I love that movie.
All right, let me catch up. Kate,
Super Russian. I am Groot.
Yeah, Chase Blanchard says everything's in crypto on my end. I love it. Chase also says Crypto Rain is awesome. I appreciate the compliment, brother. Let's see what else we got.
The dragon shirt is from the Gold Dragon Club.
Randy,
so if you have
what's that?
Yeah, what else?
The golden dragon logo.
Yeah, if you have a gold dragon, ask Turtle Golf or Mike Cat, and then they will will go on, and they might be able to sell you one. We might have a big giveaway for them soon too. So keep subscribe, and then I'll let you know when you have that notifications on. I'll let you know when that giveaway is. Maybe you'll get to maybe it'll be fun. Maybe you'll get to see me somewhere.
VeVe Wheels. I think that was
where did you get
that dragon? I get it now. Okay. You know, Super Rush with the massive compliment. He says, Randy is the most amazing influencer he's ever seen in his life.
I am Groot. I love that.
Grumpy Cat comic is going to be amazing.
I hope they don't regret hiring me for that, because I am going crazy with some of those characters. There's one character in there that it's all a bunch of these meme characters. So there's one that, and they all like fight with each other. They're all in this like warring solar system. There's one that chops someone's arm off and stabs him with his own ulna. There's one there's one group of these like beings that they reproduce by parthenogenesis. So there's no like breeding. They're like asexual. As it's like SpongeBob when they reproduce by budding. There's just a lot of really crazy stuff in there. So I hope people like it. But Rand, did you read the Evermind comic?
No.
It is wild. It has there's only 2 comics that's out on VeVe, but in each comic there was a point where I was like, oh my God, this poor girl, and I had to like walk away for a second. It's wild. I would definitely recommend checking it out if you like shock value, if you like that shock and awe. If you don't, then don't. But it's insane. But on the opposite end of that, you got anything on VeVe lately? I guess the airdrop.
So I spent some more money on VeVe, and I bought some more Boba Fett's, some more Darth Vader's, some more comics. I think some of these comics are going to do really well. So I just bought some more comics and just buying a lot of what I believe in.
So Sleepin has that list of stuff. One of the things that he mentioned was Silver Surfer number 48, I think. And then Sentry number 1. Okay, it was not Silver Surfer number 48. It was Amazing. No. By the way, Sentry number 1 is the first appearance of Sentry. He said anything under like $4, go on and get. So I have like 10 of those. I don't have like a ton, and I'm only just getting the commons. So when I go and I take a look, I'll look right now. There's one for $3.69. Everyone comment nice down below with the 69. I'll go and grab that. I feel like I should make a shirt that says "Do what Sleepin' does," because he's pretty awesome. But I got that, and the other one, I forget which one it was. Maybe it was Fantastic Four or Silver Surfer number 3. Yeah, that was it. He said that one, anyone under, I think $3 for the common, pretty good to scoop up. So, and there's a couple right here for $2.50. That'll go scoop up right now. That guy, Modern Collector, he doesn't really go much for collectibles. He's the one that has about 250,000 subscribers over on YouTube. He's got maybe about 30,000 followers over on X, and that's just what he does. He buys. He just goes on and buys comics all the time. And he does buy some OMI. The other day he had a post, or somebody posted like, I don't know, OMI with, you can get 1 million OMI for like $380 or whatever. He's like, oh, so I could get like 7 million OMI for like 1 ETH. I got to grab more. And again, a lot of people in Web3 and crypto, they measure it by ETH. And the weird thing that I've noticed about that is when something goes up, if something is worth 1 ETH, and 1 ETH right now is like 2,700. If the price of Ethereum goes up, or as it goes up, I think all-time high is like 4,400, give or take. So to make it simple, let's say it goes from 2,500 per ETH to 5K, just to make that math simple, and it doubles. You would expect the price of something, okay, this was 1 ETH, so it was 2,500. If the price doubles of ETH, okay, then this is probably worth half an ETH now, right? In order to maintain that consistency with the US dollar. But that's not what happens. They're like, okay, well, what happens if 1 ETH is just going to be 1 ETH, right? No, that is not what happens at all. What happens is that it doesn't just stay 1 ETH and double up to 5 grand and follow the Ethereum value. What it does, oh, ETH has gone up, NFTs are going up. This is going to be worth 2 ETH now, right? So you have that double whammy, you have that double dip, and that we saw that in the last bull market and in the last bear market. You had that really horrible downturn where something was worth 10 ETH, and then ETH got cut in half. It's like, okay, so it should be worth 20 ETH now. No, complete opposite of that. ETH went down, and the amount of ETH it was worth also went down. So you had that double whammy, and that sucked for a lot of people that bought stuff on OpenSea. But now you're kind of seeing that inflection point where it's doing the opposite. It's going upwards. I feel like I've been talking for way too long. The rest of the comments. Super Russ says, cheers, guys. Got to run. Have a good night. Rookie, man. All right, man. Where's any travel plans for you, Rain?
Well, I'm heading to Decon in Vegas. I heard some cool people are going to be there, so I couldn't resist. So
Can't heckin' wait for that.
yeah, Fernando is coming. A bunch of great VeVe fam is coming. I think VeVe Fam Bam is going to be there. I heard VeVe Magic is going to be there. I heard Tammy's going to be there. Some good friends are going to be there. It's going to be the place to be. So now I haven't heard. Do you know if Sanjay's going to be there?
He said he has some stuff to do. He says if he does, it's going to be last minute. Same with Tina and Rudy. They have some stuff that they have to be like in person for in Arizona. But they said if they are able to go, they said they'll give me a call. It'll be like last minute. I was like, all right, cool. So I hope they go. Tina and Rudy said they love Vegas. They said they love vacation too because they try to eat really well, like in their normal, and they don't really. The only time they get a break from that is like vacation. So it's really more of the mouth pleasure than anything. They're gonna go, but I thought that there was only like 7 or 8 of us going, and then I found out there's this whole group chat. There's like 50 people that are going. I was like, oh damn, I didn't know about this. And they're like, we would have added you. We didn't know you were going. It's like, I didn't know I was going. VeVe officially is not going, but it's the fam is. So.
Do you know unofficially are they going to be there?
They wanted to because licenses, but also Vegas. But now I'm not so sure. I don't think they are. Maybe they might surprise. They might say, oh, like years ago, like even through this year, where they was like, yeah, we're not sure that we're gonna go to Comic-Con, and then they tell everyone like 2 weeks prior. It's like we knew this was happening. You couldn't have told us like 6 months ago. But they said no, but feel like they might be being a little coy with that, and they're like, oh yeah, no, too much work, and then we're like, oh well, this important license is here.
By the way, we're there.
That'd be a fun surprise. I would like that. But yeah, there's people from Hawaii going. There's anyone that lives in like California. They're going to be kind of going over there because it's not too far of a flight or drive for them. So jealous. They have so much cool stuff over there. They have San Diego. They have Las Vegas. We have like the freaking Atlantic City boardwalk where if you just, I don't know, tip over your trash can on your porch and walk up and down it. It's pretty much the same thing. I do not. The East Coast has been. It's not been as good as the West Coast has recently.
Let me see. Catching up on some more things. Let's see. Super Rache fam. Yo, VeVe Wells, nice to see you, man. Always best. AR picks. Thanks, homie. I love, the VeVe community and like meshing together. That was a lot of fun in New York Comic Con. Like the parties were amazing. Sanjay threw an incredible party. VeVe threw an incredible party. Just like I went, I didn't even buy a pass to Comic Con. I just went for the people.
Yeah, I was there for like a couple hours at Comic Con. That's typically what I do. So the burns are removing OMI is definitely still in the pipeline. That's not like a securities or regulatory concern, as that OMI from the business development wallet is controlled by the company, so they can do whatever they want with it, just like other people could go or they could burn their OMI whenever they want to. But I know there's a bit of strife about that on when it should be done, because they have $5.5 billion that they said they would burn. Again, that still is in the pipeline. Some people are going to understand the long game and say like, oh, hey, we should probably save this for a rainy day. We should probably save this for when things really kick off and get the hype going. And some people just want it now because they don't have delayed gratification. That's fine. As far as Stacker is concerned, there's only so many things that you could buy on Stacker right now. As soon as that's rolled out fully to everyone, and does that mean we get Marvel and Disney right away? I don't know. I can't imagine why they would want to delay that, but maybe they don't want to be first. Maybe they want to see how it plays out with other licenses and how quickly it happens. But right now, the stuff that you can buy and sell on Stacker is good. It's fun, but it's I feel like everyone wants to buy Spider-Man. They want to buy Partner Statue. They want to buy like the big stuff, and a lot of the stuff they can buy on there now. It's not terribly exciting. I mean, I still sell stuff all the time. You're not getting my OMI. I'm not gonna spend my OMI on but yeah, Guido's actually posting like, does anyone want to sell? He wants to buy another logo. He said a bit under the floor. He hasn't gotten that yet. So if anyone wants to, he's looking for another one.
Cool. A lot of the burns will happen like the upcoming market when things go crazy. You'll see tons of new people coming in. You'll see a lot more transactions happening on Stacker, and maybe over time Stacker has a lot more of the licenses. Right now, there aren't a ton of licenses on there, and there's a few other things burning OMI. To me, like when I came in 2017, like burning tokens was a big thing that a lot of projects did. And since then, it like hasn't become that big. Number one, it can put you on the SEC's radar. Number two, like, okay, so is that money better spent by the company receiving the money and then using that money to build things out? My opinion, that is better spent that way. Cool. So OMI actually isn't like VeVe and OMI aren't necessarily burning the VeVe project isn't necessarily burning the OMI, being burnt on Stacker. Cool. So there's still some burns, and they did promise burns when they were new. That's what everyone did in 2017 and 2018. Probably Ben, who was an advisor to the project at the time, Ben Gadenzi, probably recommended they do it because they're very common. I invested in the pre-sale. That was one of the things they talked about doing. And back then it was a really big thing projects were doing. If they changed and went away from that and didn't burn any OMI, it wouldn't break my heart. Now, a lot of people, they have their mindset on that because they're like, that's the only way OMI becomes worth anything. I disagree with that sentiment, but I can understand where it comes from. I think it'll help OMI be worth more. Really what helps OMI be worth a lot is VeVe doing tremendously. And as people FOMO into VeVe, they often want to buy the token associated with it. For example, one of my really, really good friends that invests in the traditional spaces, when Metaverses were going crazy, he's like, oh my gosh, this Metaverse thing is huge. I want some Decentraland. I want to invest in Decentraland. So what did he do? He bought the token associated with it because he couldn't buy stock in Decentraland. So he just bought the token associated with it, right? That's what people are going to do with OMI. So like, I get that a lot of people don't understand that yet, but they weren't around in 2021 in the early stages of when this boom happened before. And so they just haven't seen these patterns yet. Cool.
And again, you already have Bitcoin at or around, it's already bigger than it was last cycle. It's tinkering around all-time high, which it reached in March, April, give or take. And you're going to have that blow off top. I mean, MicroStrategy just announced that they want to raise another 42 billion over the next 3 years. So even if Bitcoin gets to like 200,000 and some quick math over there, they could buy another 200,000 Bitcoin. I mean, there's so little Bitcoin on there that blow off top as people go in and they take profits from that and it goes into alts. It's going to be heckin' nuts. Again, most people are not used to making like even 3x gains. Most people are like, yo, I made 30% this year. That's a great year. Let's go. And sure, you're outperforming the S&P 500, which is fine. But when they go and they get like 3 and 4x gains, and they don't know what to do with themselves. And then they see their buddy, and maybe their buddy is not as smart as them. Maybe there's a bit of a cowboy. Something happens. I don't know what it's called. I don't even know if there's a word for it. When you have somebody that you know that is maybe not as smart or not as successful as you, suddenly, yeah, you made 3x on your money, but they went in on this like meme coin and they made like 50x on their money. What is going on? How is this person suddenly more successful I am? It shocks them, it upsets the balance, and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to do that too. I want to do that same thing. And a lot of money gets thrown around that probably shouldn't. You have people that maybe they average around, I think Rain talks about this watermark. Maybe they have $10,000 that they're used to having, or $30,000 they're used to having, in the savings account there for that rainy day. And suddenly they have access, they're liquid for $500,000. They don't know what to do with that. And what do people do when they talk about what happens if you're going to win the lotto? Well, I'm going to buy this, I'm going to buy that, I'm going to buy. They don't talk about invest. They just talk about like just throwing it elsewhere. And you're going to have that on, especially men, because men are crazy like that. They're cowboys, and that's what a lot of crypto is. I think like 98% of my audience is men. And there's multiple reasons for that. One that's, and we can go, me and Rain can have a whole podcast about that. But there's going to be a lot more money thrown around than should, and things are going to go higher than they should. And there's going to be things that have no utility. There's going to be things that have just no project. No, like the CEO could be in a ditch with the pants around his ankles, and that token will go up like 10x for absolutely no reason. So what happens when you are associated with the #1 digital collectibles platform in the space? You could assume it's probably going to be a very good thing for the token. But again, that's just my opinion, not financial advice.
Yeah, a lot of people assume that what has been happening is going to continue to happen on both sides of it. When things are going like crazy, they assume that it's going to continue going crazy no matter what. And they get wrecked because then they're following in, they find out ways to like mortgage their house and buy crypto projects like literally at the top or right near the top. And even if they buy it right near the top, it goes up more. They don't take profits. And so they end up seeing a massive correction happen. And then they're just, they're just like, oh my gosh, what happened? And then they're like, I'm just going to hold on. And then it continues to correct to the downside. And then they eventually sell. And then they abstract the blame away from them. And they blame everyone else rather than realize, oh my gosh, I bought at the top. I didn't realize I was new at this. Crap. I made some mistakes. I'm learning. They just FUD on the project like, oh my gosh, it's the project's fault that I made these decisions. You made me make these decisions. It's really the position they take. Like sometimes I get people make comments, oh my gosh, Rain, I lost so much money because you shilled XYZ project to me. And it's like, well, look, some of the stuff I invest in myself, like I only share stuff that I invest in myself. And does everything that I invest in myself go up? This is early stage business investing. There's going to be a % failure that's going to fail. Like traditional early stage business investing called angel investing or early VC investing. Here's what the numbers look like. About 10% of what they invest in will succeed and do well. Another 20% will do okay, and 70% will fail. And so they get wrecked all the time, but they diversify like crazy. So what do I do in the crypto space? I diversify like crazy too. Does everything I invest in succeed? Well, I wish my numbers were better during the bear market of 2018 through 2020, but I was fairly new at crypto. I'd been investing for a long time, but I was trying to figure out this new crypto space. And there's a lot of shit in the crypto space. And I didn't figure out very well, like what was good and what wasn't. So 2/3 of what I invested in failed. Yet the third that didn't fail took my portfolio 100x from the bottom. So now, is that amazing? Well, I feel like I could have done way better, but those numbers are absolutely crazy. It's way better than what you could do in traditional VC investing. Cool. Does some of the stuff I invest in fail? Yes. I did take what I learned from those projects that succeeded and what were some of the commonalities between those that succeeded, and I rolled it into this bear market. And so I don't know what my success rate is going to be from this bear market going into the bull market. But I know that some of the projects I invested in during the bear market have already failed, a few of them. Does that suck? Yes. What will my success rates be? Well, we'll have to see how it plays out. Right now, I'm really heavy in about 10 projects, and I'm diversified across about 150. And some of those 150, I think about 5 of them have already failed tremendously. So my success rate cannot be higher than about 96% because like that many have already failed. Will a few more fail? Probably. Is my success rate probably going to be a lot better than it was in 2018 through 2020? Yes. So people that have watched certain things on this channel, number one, the projects that they were referencing that they're like, oh my gosh, you know, I got wrecked. And it's like, well, I haven't even exited those projects. Those projects haven't even failed. It's just the bear market and their token is absolutely punished. And they've gone into like slow mode. Will they succeed and resurrect in the bull market? A lot of times they do, but I don't know if they're dead or not dead yet. Some of those cool, like some of what I invested in, like back in 2021, assuming that things would continue to go, failed, right? So assuming that some of these things, like there was one Monster Infinite and a few in the blockchain gaming space that were taking what Axie did and building on top of it. Well, blockchain gaming then turned around and went like fell off a cliff before these got their feet under them. And so I didn't get a take profit exit on those yet. And so I still hold those tokens. Are they possibly dead? They are possibly dead. Are they going to make it? I don't know. But during the bear market, gave me a good time to assess out of what's still there, what is really good to invest in. And I have loaded the boats on those. I did find in the bear market that I really like a certain spectrum of what to invest in during the bear market. And a lot of what that is projects that aren't brand new. They're projects that are anywhere between 2 to 6 years old, that their tokens are absolutely being devastated during the bear market, but they have a strong team that are accomplishing something that is a growing narrative, that there's a reason why there's a business use case for whatever their narrative is. Like VeVe and OMI is one of the best ones in that spectrum. So their tokens launched in 2018. They actually did really good in the bull market of 2021. And now their token is being absolutely punished by the bear market. But they have an app that is doing tremendously well for a bear market and has gotten a lot of traction. They've got some of the best intellectual property in the world. And so their token price is absolutely punished. When the bull market turns around, like I evaluate a few different things, like how strong is the team? What is the percent chance that this company fails from now until the bull market? I also evaluate what is their narrative and like, what can that narrative do? Well, I think the idea of digital collectibles is going to be a massive narrative in the future. It's going to be one of the areas where blockchain can bring ownership to the internet in ways that couldn't happen before blockchain. So you can own a collectible and you can prove that it's that collectible because blockchain and cryptographic encryption makes that possible. And VeVe is leading the charge in that space, and the token associated that with OMI. So it's a fantastic one. I like things like, we both like Definity. They're solving some very real problems. Their market cap is punished during the bear market. And yet the business behind it is doing really, really well in a space that's really, really growing and has a lot of potential to continue to grow. Those are the type of projects I look for. Bumper is another one. Their price is disastrously low right now. And people are like, oh my gosh, it's terrible. But I talked to the team 2 weeks ago. I was getting a little bit worried myself because for a couple months, I'd had a hard time reaching out to the team. I'd never run into that before. And sometimes that's a sign of failure when all of a sudden you can't get a hold of the team. They're never getting back to you. And you're just like, what is going on? We finally got on a phone call and everything fine. They'd just been busy and they were replacing a marketing person. They didn't want to announce anything or say anything until they had some things figured out. And so that's why they were putting me off. Cool. Makes sense. The story behind it makes sense. Their token price is really, really cheap. And if something else I have goes up, I'm absolutely going to take some profits on that, roll it into Bumper. Still very much believe in him. But like OMI is well in that. Like part of the reason I started this OMI as my homie show with Randy and Doctor of Stuff is like, I like cases where you have a strong team, which I really believe in VeVe's team, and Ben only makes that case stronger. Number two, the business use case behind what is they're doing is the VeVe app in digital augmented reality collectibles, which I think is one of the biggest. Like, they're really hitting out of the park with what they're doing. It may not feel like it because it's a bear market. We don't have tons of new money coming in yet. But even in a bear market, they're selling remarkably well for a bear market compared to like almost every other thing out there. They're doing incredibly well. When the bull market hits and a lot of attention turns to crypto, it's a narrative that can absolutely blow up. And when it blows up, OMI token will most likely, extremely highly likely, go crazy. So what is the likelihood that this project fails between now and the bull market? You know, like, I can only think of like crazy reasons it might fail. I can't come up with any strong reasons why it might fail. So we'll see. We'll see.
No, there's no good reason that it should fail. Again, you have those unpredictability black swans, like you have maybe World War III pops off, in which case everything kind of goes down. You have maybe very unrealistically like a solar flare, alien invasion, something like that. But
yeah.
For the most part, I'm not gonna lie. I think alien invasion is probably more realistic than solar flare.
Starving to death. Digital collectibles are not going to be very important in our future if that's happening, you know, or like World War III and half the population dies and the other rest of the population is starving to death. You're right. It was a bad investment. Shoot. But in that case, everything else was a bad investment except for food storage and ammo and weapons. Like, everything else was a bad investment. Cool. So that could happen. Just the probabilities are low that it goes that way. Sleeping in the house. What's up? Had a chance to
day.
Just for a minute, but not very long. Sleeping. Love you, brother.
Love you too, Sleeping. I miss you, fam. I love it when it's like, hey, we'll be on the phone. Be like, hey, I don't have too long. Yeah, me neither. 45 minutes later, yeah, we should probably go.
West Coast guys, thank you for your take. Thanks for.
Do you have anything you want to add over before we bounce? Before we did?
That's everything, guys. This bear market feeling, like, it's not truly the bear market. You saw that Bitcoin is pushing up against previous all-time highs. My guess is in the coming 2 months it breaks through. And if that happens, it's going to start turning attention to crypto again. And then you'll see some new money flowing into crypto. And these prices won't last for forever. And it will swing the other way at some point on many of these higher risk altcoins. That's why I'm diversified into, I like projects below $100 million market cap. OMI is one of the highest market cap projects I'm in. And I'm just taking that risky bet.
I will not be here next week. I will be otherwise indisposed, but I will be back the week before Decon. Can't wait for that. And thank you, everyone, for being here with us. Everyone say bye-bye to Dashi. Bye-bye, Dashi. Bye, guys.
Yeah, we'll see everyone. Take care.